All set? Are we live? Oh, we are, okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry? Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Town of Buxton Selectmen's Meeting for April 24th, 2024. Call this meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. First order of business is a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Any objections to taking things out of order? Seeing none at this point, we will, I believe it's Superintendent Gleason will present this year's annual town budget for the school department, MS 86. So.
Thank you very much. Absolutely. My pleasure to be here tonight. So I just want to acknowledge with me is Dawn Pooler, our business manager, and she will answer all the hard things that you ask me. Okay. I will try to stick to the easy things. And then Nathan Carlo, chairman of the board, is also here tonight to support us. Okay. And then Peter Burns actually was on budget advisory. So as our citizen advisory group that I'll mention, Peter had served on that, and he served on that for several years. So, so yes, I'm here tonight to go over our budget. So a couple things I want to mention is that there is a handout in front of you, and anyone in the public who's watching this, we can provide this information. It is posted on our website. If anyone has any difficulty finding it, contact our office. We will make sure they can have any information that they want. We are committed to full transparency with this process. I believe we have like at least the last 5 years line item budgets posted on the website. And we're happy to answer any questions anyone has after watching this presentation, because my intention is to just do a pretty high-level overview and then answer any questions. So in this budget, what you'll see is that there is really only one addition over last year, and that is an additional teacher of English to speakers of other languages, also known as ELL, because we have gone from having about 14 or 15 students in that student population to almost 30, and we have one staff member for 8 buildings. And that person cannot cover all the needs of those students. So we are proposing to hire an additional staff member. Other than that, we have not added anything to this budget other than salaries and benefits. So the increase that you see, and you will see, and I'll talk about, is 100% salaries and benefits or other operating costs like electrical costs or fuel costs that just go up over time that we all deal with. A couple choices that we made intentionally. Each year we often will allocate $1 million, $1.5 million to our facilities additionally beyond the operating budget. This year we made the decision not to do that because we knew if we did that it would increase the budget to a place that would be a challenge for the public to support. Maybe more so even than people might have opinions about this budget that we're presenting tonight. So let me back up and say that for those of you, anyone watching who can't see the handout, on page, I think it's numbered page 3, second page after the cover page, there is a chart there that shows the last 10 years operating budgets. And one of the things I want to draw folks' attention to is there's a bar graph on the right side of that page 3, and the color coding, salary is blue, benefits are orange, and everything else is gray. Okay? And if you look at those gray bars, they're pretty equal going back to 2015. And the numbers behind those bars are in the chart to the left. And you can see that in fiscal year 2015, all other expenses were $12,611,000. And this year, 10 years down the road, we are at $12,165,000. So for folks who think that we're increasing the budget every year unnecessarily, that's a pretty stable impact. We're 75% roughly people, salaries and benefits. Our budget is immensely enmeshed in our people. And this year we were behind in our salaries and we were having trouble keeping people. So the increases in this budget are salaries and benefits. If you go to page, I think it's page 5, the proposed budget, the overall increase to the budget with all pieces included is 6.38%. And that, again, is salaries and benefits. And one thing I'll say is the board supported this budget, voted on it, approved it, and the next day we got the word that benefits were going to go up by 11.25%, and we had put a placeholder of 6%, thinking that was middle of the road. and we got hit with almost the largest increase we could. So the board actually has to take a look at the budget, but what Don Pooler and I are recommending is to take that, it's almost $600,000 is how that affected this budget. Rather than add it on, we're taking it out of our fund balance, and we are going to commit to responsible spending this year because we knew that we could not put that $600,000 on the backs of taxpayers. So the board still needs to approve this revised budget, but the only difference is $600,000 more from the fund balance to offset the health insurance increase. So it doesn't change the bottom line for taxpayers. And then on page 6, there's a breakdown by town, and Buxton's share of that 6.38 increase is 7.96%, which is a big number. And this has come up a lot lately. People have asked us this question, and one thing I just want to make sure I mention is we don't get to decide how that share is divided, and people will look at this and say, well, why is Standish 5.5 and Buxton 7.96? And it all comes down to the state determining the ability of the community to pay through a 3-year average evaluation that might be 2 years old, and it hits towns in different ways. And right now, it's hitting Buxton and Leamington. And I had a conversation with Mark Blyer about this not that long ago, about how, valuations need to be done, but every time those things happen, it impacts other things, and this is one of those ripple effects. So the state sends us a document that basically tells us how we have to divide the bill to the towns. So it isn't that we want Buxton to have to pay a higher percentage, or we want the increase to be higher. It's the way the formula passes things through. So 7.96, just under 8% for Buxton. People might ask, how could we reduce the budget? The only way to do that would be to cut people, cut positions, and we feel like we're at a place where we're appropriately staffed. We have the people we need. This year, I told my managers and principals, if you need something new, find a resource you already have and use it differently. Don't come to me asking me for another teacher or another ed tech or another position. Take what you have and use it differently to accomplish what you need to accomplish for our kids. And they have been amazingly creative to do that. I did not feel comfortable taking things away from them because right now it feels like we're barely hanging on with our staffing levels. So just back to a couple points I wanted to make. We put a lot of energy this year into a facilities assessment. We're looking at, the condition of all our schools. And of course, Buxton has, and I'll use my air quotes, the new school, which is 14 years old now, right? All of our other schools are far older and in far more poor shape. But we also know we can't replicate what we did in Buxton by giving each community a new school because the bill would be incredible and it would take 80 years. I did some math on this path we're on, and we couldn't afford it in time or money to do that plan. So one of the things that we're doing that isn't really costing us anything right now is we are proceeding with applying to the Major Capital School Construction Program that is open from the state. That's an opportunity to get state participation in a building project. It can be up to 100%. It usually isn't, but it can be. And we're going to apply for every single school in the district except Buxton because, of course, Buxton is in good shape because it's newer. And if we can get one of those schools to finish high enough on the list, we have a couple of ideas about how to improve the entire district through some level of consolidation. And I won't get into those details, but I would be happy. I have a 5-minute speech that turns into 15 if anyone gets me talking about this, because I'm pretty passionate about it. But there are things that we could do for all our communities and all our kids if we get this opportunity. So we are turning over every stone to improve our facilities. We're not putting specific funds in this year, but we have a capital improvement fund from unexpended money from previous years that can only be used for facilities. The board has to approve it, but if we have emergent or urgent needs this year, we'll dip into that reserve account if needed. If a boiler goes or a roof has some emergency repairs that are needed, we'll still pick away at the day-to-day things, and there's money in the operating budget for that. Talked about the salary and benefits. We're in a labor crisis like everyone. I know schools are no different than any other industry, but we had people literally leaving our positions from our schools sometimes in the middle of the year and making $12,000 to $14,000 more to do the same job in Westbrook or Scarborough, right? $14,000. I can't look at a person and tell them it's better here. You should stay, right? I can't do that. We know we're not going to close that gap, but our negotiations this year with 3 of our major bargaining groups, we tried to make efforts to close that gap so we could give our people a reason to stay, knowing we can never pay as much as some of these surrounding communities. So that's why you'll see the increase in salary and benefits. Benefits are out of our control. Salaries were needed to keep the people we have and attract new employees. I think that's the overview. The other thing I'll say is if you look at the per pupil expenditure of Bonnie Eagle compared to the state, it's not in your packet, but I'm looking at a chart here, and the state average per pupil is $17,654, okay? Bonnie Eagle is under $16,000, and of the area schools, we are 5th from the bottom in what we spend per pupil. And many of the surrounding communities spend significantly more per pupil. So I feel that we are responsible with our budgeting to give our students a good experience, not the best experience, but a good experience, and trying to be mindful of balancing the demands of the tax base. So that's kind of what I have for you, but I'm happy to take any specific questions you might have.
Yeah, if I could make a comment. So I totally understand where you're at on the employee field. We're feeling it here at the town as well. I know a lot of people out there in the public, this is a good time to just tell the public, there is a shortage of employees, and being competitive in the financial world as far as paying people is the only way you get people to come, teach schools or plow roads or, EMS. And so it's been an issue, and so I understand the rise this year, especially with it's a union negotiation. I guess the only question I have is that I know that there's a lot of schools that need a lot of repairs, and we've discussed that. I know you've had a study done and what it would take to build a new school. You're working that. That's all great. My question is, if that doesn't come through, what do we do? You know what I mean? What's the game plan moving forward? And how long do we wait? Because that could take years. Are we waiting 10 years? Are we waiting 5 years? Then we got to come up with Plan B. I just want to have an outlook of what that looks like.
It's a great question, Mark, and I don't have a great answer other than I have a general idea of how I will be suggesting we approach it. So the first step was to see this process through to get state participation, because it's a ranking process. We had set some money aside in this current operating budget to get help writing these applications from professionals who this is their world. So hopefully they will help us make our applications the best they can be. The state will go through their process to rank order all these applicants, and we should know by next year at this time, is what I've been told, that process should largely be coming to some level of completion where schools and districts will know if they've qualified or if how high they are on this list. They could be 200 schools on this list, right? But we'll have 7 schools out of the 200 maybe, right? If we have one that finishes high enough, that opens a door for us, right? We just need one. If that doesn't happen, if we finish very low, we see no hope in sight with state participation, we have some other sort of ideas, mock-ups about different options, but it's really going to depend on what the communities and the towns are willing to support, because then it will be, how do we kind of go through a process of whether we take a bond to do the big improvements and do them all in one fell swoop? Do we do a series of small increases, but it will be locally funded improvements to the schools that we'll be talking about at that point, whether it's construction or renovation. The state does do smaller assistance, like up to $1 million improvement loans, revolving renovation loans. We've made use of those in the past and have gotten a little bit done. ADA, bathroom access or code issues. We did quite a bit of work last year at Hollis on a $1 million revolving renovation grant. But I don't know how far we'll get and if that will get us where we need to be. It will be minimal. We'll only be able to do the minimal things to keep our schools safe. But that will be probably this next step if we don't get this bigger project.
Right.
Just pick away at what we need to keep everything going along.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I mean, that's anybody else?
And I'll just add, Mark, and that's why this year, one of the things that's in need is the bathrooms at the high school need attention. We decided not to put $1 million into a major bathroom renovation at the high school when we don't know what the future of the high school is. So that's why we're delaying some of those ideas for now to see how this process plays out, if that makes sense.
Yep, it does. Well, thank you very much. Clay. I really appreciate it. Thank you for coming in and giving the presentation to the public. I'm sure they appreciate it as well, and we'll just keep on going on, I guess.
And I'll say again, I'll put the invitation out there. We are just down the road, in 94 Main Street, 93, 94 Main Street. We're right there, and we are happy to talk to anyone who has any questions about any of this in any level of detail. Happy to entertain that. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Wow,
Anybody,
well done.
anybody else want to speak on that, or? You want to speak, Peter?
Thank you, Clay and Don. The one thing that, as long as we're talking about the budget, you need to go to, I'd like you to go to page 6. You'll see that Buxton, the difference this year is an increase of 7.96%, as Clay said. That's a $752,811.08. So, and our share based on, again, that is what Buxton's share is, but it's based on what the state did in their valuation, and Buxton went up to 28.46% of the budget required, what they required the state, the towns to put in, which is almost a 1% increase over last year, I believe. And again, part of that was the evaluation that we went through, the staggered valuation that we went through over several years for the town of Buxton. As the town increased, and the state does do a look back, but it's averaged over a 3-year period. It may be a year in the rears. So we're suffering from our valuation, which hadn't been done in a long time. Standish is going through the same thing right now, and they're starting to see that, and they will see that over the next couple of years because they just are in the process of going through a valuation. So that's part of, we really don't have much say with the state as far as that's concerned. But the difference to the town per $100,000 valuation was, for Buxton, came out to $72.08 based on the mill rate. So that's, or $72.08, yeah, per 100,000. But I'd like to, if you would, go back to the chart.
What page are you on, Peter?
If you go to page 4, the revenue history of resources, the state valuation, if you look at that number, or the blue line, and you look at it, it's fairly flat all the way across. And what's happening with the state is the formula they use can be manipulated any way they want to do it. And they can say, oh, we're giving 55% of education to everybody. But they pick a number, as far as I'm concerned, they pick a number and then tweak the formula to make it fit. Buxton received last year, or for the coming year, I believe it's $100,000 less than what we received for the current fiscal year that we're in. I mean, everybody knows inflation has gone up. You pick a number and that inflation's gone up for everything. Yet the state, they've got this warped way of looking at it. They're giving us less money than they did the year before, while inflation, everything, insurances, taxes, food, everything, heating oil, you name it, goes up, the state gives us less. And then you look at, personally, speaking for myself now, you look at what this legislature has just completed doing. We've got this great surplus, and they didn't give it to the state. We're opening new programs, and yes, there's a lot of need in this state for a lot of things. But the school needs to be supported, and I don't believe the state is supporting it with the formulas that they're using when they can give a school district less money than they did the previous year. It's just, it can't go on, and that's why we're in the position we're in now, and we're never going to catch up until something is done in Augusta. So I'm just, that's my opinion, and that's what I wanted to point out, so thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Anybody else? Well, just want to thank you guys for coming in. Appreciate it. And thank you for giving the time to educate our citizens in the town of Buxton. So thank you so much for that. So
Thank you.
you can stay and listen to the rest of the meeting, or you can. Thank you. All right. So moving on, we'll go on to agenda number 3, which is approval of prior meeting minutes for December the 10th, 2024.
April 10th, 2024.
April, sorry. Yeah.
Second.
All those in favor? That's 3 in favor, 1 abstaining, and 1 absent. Discussions that were held between the hours of 4 and 7 p.m. today. At 4 o'clock, we had our Public Works Director, Kevin Kimball, that came in. And basically, there's a couple roads and, a couple bridges in our town on a few different roads that need attention. Guardrails being one of the main factors on it, and he's been reaching out to people with no luck. And so we've received letters to get them fixed, and Kevin is working on that. I spoke with Tom tonight, so hopefully we can get some resolution here shortly. But that's what that conversation was about. At 4:30, Deb Soul came in. She's a resident that lives on Route 202. She's asking the Select Board of Buxton to get involved in sending a letter to the state to see, she'd like to have some changes done on that section of road. A few of them are moving the speed limit to from 45 to 40, and other issues, like she wants some street signs, flashing signs, and so we are going to put that on our letterhead, send it to the state to see if there's anything that they're willing to do, considering that is a state road. It doesn't belong to the town, and so we are limited on what we are able to do on that section of road. So that was that discussion. At 5 o'clock, our HR, Hunter Cox, was in. Just reviewing the new town report. It's been put together. We all reviewed it to make sure that it was accurate and things of that nature. And so that was his, along with Bill Hall, who came in at 5:30, our treasurer. We talked about the personnel policy, some changes that we're looking to make to the personnel policy, along with coupons that we have made up for the transfer station, talking about the future of this transfer station, what that's going to look like in coming years. And so that lasted till about 6 o'clock. At 6 o'clock, the board went over across the street. We did get our new forestry fire truck in. Was a dedication to the fire truck this evening. Chief Schools did a great job. Just want to put a special thanks to Nate, our fire chief. It's a $525,000 unit, or $540, somewhere in that area. You know, the cost of the town was $27,000. Very fortunate that he's able to write a grant to get that for the town. It'll not, even though it's a forestry truck, it's basically an operating engine, and so he'll be used as a service vehicle for our community above and beyond just forestry, day-to-day type operations. And so it's basically a new fire truck to the town for $27,000. So we just want to give him a great appreciation for writing the grant and getting that for the town, and say thank you to Chief Schools for doing so. And also Jeremy Redlin, our other, what do you call it? Assistant Chief, who also worked really hard at that as well. So we want to thank both of them for all the hard work that they did. That lasted till about 7, and so we came in this evening. And so, review of correspondence. We had an email from MMA Technology Conference, Legislative Bulletin. We had an email from Bob Clerk, Robert B. Hunt, Weekly Legislative Bulletin. We had an email from Kate Dufour, which is the MMA Executive Committee nominations. We had an email from Bruce Flaherty, Spirit of America, Award Info. We had an email from Constellation Energy. It's an info letter. We had an email from SMPDC, Spring Newsletter. We had an email from Heather Sneff, Health Officer, Continued Education. We had an email from MMA Risk Services, RMS Express newsletter. We had a packet from the Sweetzer's 2004 annual report. We had an email from CMP, our municipal day invitation. We had an email from YCSO newsletter. And then we also got the magazine Main Biz. Those were our correspondence for this week's. So projects and issues. Tom?
I don't have a lot to report this week.
Okay, thank you. David?
Spent a little time at Public Works as usual. Today they had some safety training here. I think there was like 15 different Public Works departments that came, and they had some training, safety training, so it was good for our guys and our director. And also, this coming Saturday and Sunday, we're having a cleanup at Pleasant Point Park from 9 to 1. Anybody that would like to come and help, we'll really like to have them. We're just cleaning up brush and everything from all the storms. So we'll be there and hope to see you. That's it.
Thank you, David. Chad?
Yeah, so this week, I've been working with speaking with the fire chief about the presentation of the new truck that's being dedicated tonight, and thank everybody over there for their diligence of making that whole project come to fruition. Spoke to our code enforcement officer about a couple of issues, and also spoke to one of our residents, Ethan Bump, who is on the cemetery committee. Those little cemeteries were looking really good until that last storm, and like everybody's yard, including the little cemeteries, they got hit pretty hard with debris. So we're going to start trying to get out there and get those cleaned out as soon as reasonably possible.
Thank you, Chad. We were all in last Thursday to finish off our budget committee meeting. One of the items that we did not put on the warrant was an air conditioning unit for the town hall building here. It was discussed by John. It was approved by the budget committee and also the select board. It just wasn't put on the warrant. And so I had a conversation with Bill this week to let him know that to ask him to put it on the warrant. It was put on the warrant. He reached out to Sheridan, and Sheridan agreed that we all discussed it. We just forgot to put it on there, so at the annual town meeting, you'll see where the budget committee recommends and the select board recommends. It's just gonna be 0-0 because we forgot to put it on the warrant. But we did put it on the warrant for the annual town meeting, so we had that conversation. Spoke to Kevin Collins a little bit about the meeting with Hollis on our ACO and what's happening with that. Spent a little time with Hunter, our treasurer, just keeping myself up to speed of what's going on in the town. And so that was pretty much my week. Moving on to old business. Anybody have an old business? See none, new business.
Just about to clean up at Pleasant Point this weekend.
Yep, thank you. So moving on to the executive orders. Executive orders 242-500-4013 in order to approve 72 hours of vacation leave for Greg Hefferman.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? That's 4, 1 absent. Executive Order 242-500-4014 in order to appoint Patty J. McKenna to the position of Code Enforcement Officer for the town of Buxton, such appointment to be effective until April 30th, 2025.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? That's 4, 1 absent. Executive Order 242-500-4015 in order to appoint Patty J. McKenna to the position of Building Inspector for the town of Buxton, such appointment to be effective until April 30th, 2025.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? That's 4, 1 absent. Executive Order 242-500-4016 in order to appoint Patty J. McKenna to the position of Plumbing Inspector for the town of Buxton, such appointment to be effective until April 30th, 2025.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? That's 4, 1 absent. Executive Order 242-500-4017 in order to appoint Kurt A. Jackson to the position of Deputy Code Enforcement Officer for the town of Buxton, such appointment to be effective until April 30th, 2025.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? That's 4, 1 absent. Executive Order 242-500-4018, in order to appoint Kurt A. Jackson to the position of Deputy Building Inspector for the Town of Buxton. Such appointment to be effective until April 30th, 2025.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? That's 4, 1 absent. Executive Order 242-500-4019, in order to appoint Kurt A. Jackson to the position of Deputy Plumbing Inspector for the Town of Buxton, such appointment to be effective until April 30th, 2025.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? That's 4, 1 absent. Executive Order 242-500-4020, in order to approve the attendance of John Myers to the IIMC Annual Conference from May 17th through the 25th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? That's 4, 1 absent. Any executive orders by initiative? Seeing none, accounts payable and payroll warrant. Executive Order 242-500-4012, in order to approve expenditures as documented in accounts payable warrant number 86.
That's 4021, not 4012.
Okay, 402, let me try it again. Executive Order 242-500-4021, in order approving expenditures as documented in the payroll warrant number 86.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? That's 4, 1 absent, and that amount is $137,466.22. Executive Order 242-500-4022, in order approving expenditures as documented in the payroll warrant number 85.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? That's 4, 1 absent, and that amount is $98,397.69. The next meeting of the boards, the next Selectmen's meeting will be held on Wednesday, May 1st, 2024. The next Planning Board meeting will be held on Monday, April 13th at 7 p.m. And there will be a Department Head meeting on May 1st, 2024 at 4 p.m. here at the Town Hall. Any other business? Seeing none, at this time, I'll take public comments and questions. Nothing. All right, seeing none, I'll take a motion to adjourn. There's no executive sessions after this, and motion to adjourn. Make a motion to adjourn?
Moved.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and approved to adjourn at 7:34. All those in favor? That's 4, 1 absent. Thank you, everyone, and have a good weekend and a good week.